All right, welcome back. The funeral was only just a few weeks ago, and for those that thought things would pass and the landscape would return to normal, well, they have maybe misjudged things a little bit. Get a load of this tweet from Turning Point USA. Church attendance is up 15%. Bible sales are surging, and faith leaders credit the Charlie Kirk Effect for drawing a new wave of young people to Christianity. Now, I'm certainly not going to argue about that. Catholic college ministry leaders are all reporting bigger crowds. I, for one, certainly believe that. And they can go on to say that college kids are much more inquisitive. Things like, what is evil and how does God allow this are asked daily. Now, my next guest will certainly have some answers for them. Please welcome to the show Dr. Carol Swain. Dr. Swain, thank you very much for joining us here today. But are you seeing something like the Charlie Kirk effect out there when you travel?
With Charlie Kirk's death, they were beginning to move back towards the church. And in some ways, being more serious and conservative than some of their elders. And certainly after Charlie Kirk's death, we've seen a surge of young people going to the churches that are actually offering answers. There are some churches, however, that totally ignored Charlie's death, or if the pastor addressed it at all, it was reluctantly. They really didn't know Charlie Kirk and the impact that he was having on the culture, which I think is unfortunate. If pastors want to reach the younger generation, they need to know who's out there.
So do you think they didn't intentionally ignore Charlie's death? They just weren't aware of who he was and the crowds that he was drawing?
I think there's some churches that even I have been told, I have read that there were some churches that that had negative things to say about Charlie Kirk as a person. And there were other churches that it was almost like a memo went out to certain denominations to be silent about it. And so if you were a young person and you attended a church like that, you probably found another place to go the following week. So there's some churches that are having like surges of young people, and not just young people, people are returning to the church. And so I think that there is a Charlie Kirk effect, and it's an opportunity for revival in this country. We certainly need it. And any pastor that's not on board with it, I think that they will pay a price as far as lost congregants. Lost in more ways than one.
What I think Charlie did, right. Biblically speaking, a lost lamb, right? What I think that Charlie did, which was interesting, was he went and touched the third rail of a lot of the things we talk about. He didn't shy away about race or transgenderism. He didn't shy away about a lot of the things that maybe the traditional churches might shy away from. So I think that might be one of the bigger differences. What say you?
One of the attacks on Charlie is that Charlie Kirk was a racist because he criticized Black women. He criticized particular Black women, and the same ones. I have said the same things about these particular individuals. Maybe I've even said worse. And so does that make me a racist? No, I think it makes me a truth speaker.
And I think that's why he got a lot of the students that he got, or a lot of the young people he got. And you know what? I'm sure he attracted more than just students, because he would say the truth. And a lot of times, isn't the truth, it's uncomfortable. That's why a lot of people sometimes don't say it. The truth is uncomfortable, and people don't want to hear it.
I feel like people like me and people like Charlie, we're sort of called to speak truth, and like we tend to be transparent. Donald Trump, for example, very transparent. And yes, it scares some people. They don't want to hear it. They don't know what to do with you. If you don't fit into their box, they have no use for you.
Well, I'm glad that you put those three together, yourself, Donald Trump, and Charlie Kirk, because you're right. That's why we have you on the show. You tell the truth, and that's why President Trump garnered all the votes he did over the election, because I believe he tells the uncomfortable sides of some of these truths. And that's why he's been a great peacemaker, too. I mean, just look what happened today. So I'm going to give you the last 10 seconds if you want to get anything else out there.
To be encouraged at this moment, and the peace with the Middle East. We know that both sides, and it's not likely to be a lasting peace because the Bible tells us that, there's no human solution to what's happening in the world, especially the Middle East. But we should be encouraged because it looks like revival is on the horizon. And so let's take that and let that be our focus to make sure we're doing our part to encourage people. And for those who are Christians, don't be afraid of the name of Jesus.
Awesome to have you on. Thank you very much, Dr. Swain.
Thank you.
You can't listen to you speak without smiling. Dr. Carol Swain from Brentwood, Tennessee. Thanks for being on the show, and we'll see you again next week. All right.